Angel Reese has taken over headlines for the last 2 years now. And if you've heard her name, you probably know she isn't the most loved athlete in the world. In fact, she probably has more haters than fans at this point. And the hate she receives comes from literally every angle imaginable. It feels like no matter what Angel Reese does or says, she has critics coming for her throat. And women have always had a tough time really being accepted in a male-dominated space, especially the sports world. And Angel Reese is a perfect example of this. And in this video, I'm going to be focusing on 3 main points as to why Angel Reese is the most hated person in sports. First off, you've got her play style, right? Secondly, you've got Angel Reese's personality. And third, there's the fact that she is a black woman who is successful. And if we're being honest, there are way more reasons than this, but for the sake of the video, this is what I'm going to stick to. And so I want to start it off by talking about Angel Reese's play style. And the reason people don't like it, well, it can be a bit boring at times. You see, Angel Reese doesn't dunk on people like Shaquille O'Neal or drive through them like Giannis. Instead, she'll get to the basket, put up a shot from right underneath it, miss, grab the rebound, and that cycle will continue a few times until she either, makes a shot or the ball goes out of her reach. And when you're watching this live, it can get a bit boring and repetitive, especially if you're watching a WNBA game that's already not the most interesting. If you're out there and the star player is Angel Reese and she can't make a shot from 5 feet away, you're gonna get a bit annoyed. But it's not just the fact that Angel Reese can be boring at times. People also don't like her because she's a bit of a stat padder. You see, there was this report a few days ago that while the game was winding down, there was only a few seconds left on the clock, her team was being blown out by more than double digits, and you can see Angel Reese begging for the ball. And at that point, she's not trying to win the game, she's just trying to pad her stats as she competes for Rookie of the Year against Caitlin Clark. And we'll get more into that rivalry in a sec, but for right now, I just want to focus on the fact that she does try to pad her stats a bit. I mean, she averages about 13.5 points per game, 12 rebounds, and most importantly, she is shooting 40% from the field. That's right, on a night in and night out basis, she'll go 4 for 12 from the field, and that's kind of ridiculous when you take into account where she is shooting from. She isn't shooting from a million miles away like Caitlin Clark. No, she is shooting about from like 5 to 10 feet away from the basket, and those are ridiculous field goal percentages for just about anybody, especially someone who's supposed to be in the Rookie of the Year convos. And now that we've talked about her play style, we're gonna get into Angel Reese's personality. But for right now, I just wanted to slow the video down, remind you guys to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for getting me to 3,000. Now the goal is 5,000, all right? So if you subscribe, it's very much appreciated. All right, now let's get to talking about Angel Reese's personality. It is a loud one. Now, she can tend to ride the line between confidence and cockiness very often. And if there's one thing people hate, it's an athlete with an ego. And if there's something people hate even more than that, it's a female athlete with an ego. Now, there was this one incident back when she was playing for LSU where she went up against Caitlin Clark. And in that game, she taunted her. She did a little taunt. And from that, millions of people saw that and decided they despised, Angel Reese for how she acted. She basically beat their golden girl in Caitlin Clark and then taunts her. Yeah, they were not having any of that. People despised her for it, and that hate has continued for years. And not only will Angel Reese be a bit arrogant at times, but she also tends to be, clap back at her critics. And I love her for that, okay? You see, there was this one time at the beginning of her senior season where Angel Reese was being benched during games. And it was rumored that she didn't have high enough grades to play. And then one of her teammates' moms comes out and publicly criticizes her for it and says that she doesn't really deserve a spot on the roster. And when Angel Reese graduates, this is when she enacts her revenge. You see, she tweets saying, "So now what? What was said? Oh, okay, that's what I thought. I graduated from Louisiana State University in 4 years on time. I thought somebody without a college degree had something to say. And that is her directly clapping back at a critic. I love Angel Reese for that moment. Again, that's where, she shows a bit of her personality, and I feel like that's one of her best traits. Some people dislike her for it. And now that we've talked a bit about Angel Reese's personality, let's move on to the fact that she is a black woman who is successful. And people hate that, okay? I mean, she's a woman, she's gonna get her fair share of sexism. There was a time in sports media where they were coming at Angel Reese for not being nice. She wasn't playing nice enough. In what world has a man in the sports game ever been criticized for not playing nice? It's never happened, but of course, women are seen as the softer, kinder sex, so Angel Reese just isn't playing nice enough. A ridiculous criticism, especially by some people who have too big of a following in the sports world, all right? And that isn't the only time, she's had to deal with sexism, because online, she is constantly being sexualized to a degree in which she feels uncomfortable. And, it might happen to male athletes sometimes, like Shea, but it doesn't happen nearly as often, especially in comparison to female athletes. And the thing about Angel Reese is that not only is she a woman, she is a black woman, which means she has received her fair share of racist remarks, all right? I mean, there was this one time not too long ago where Angel Reese's mother shared with everybody the amount of racist messages she received from Caitlin Clark fans. And Caitlin Clark fans kind of have a thing for Angel Reese. They hate her, they see her as a rival, and it's really just a race war. It's an excuse for a race war. And the incident I'm referring to is one I mentioned earlier, where, Angel Reese kind of taunts Caitlin Clark in a big game after beating her. And they did not take that lightly. And the thing I have to say on that topic is that a few weeks earlier, Caitlin Clark was seen doing the same gesture. And what did sports media write it off as? They said Caitlin Clark was simply being competitive. She was just a competitive girl, really getting her emotions out on the court. However, when it was Angel Reese's turn, there were big sports medias, especially Barstool and Dave Portnoy, who wrote Angel Reese off as being classless. They used the word classless. That is ridiculous, especially with what they had to say about Caitlin Clark doing it. If that isn't an example of racism, then I don't know what is. So at the end of the day, Angel Reese is by far the most hated athlete in sports. You can't tell me otherwise, because every time I mention her name online, guess what? I have hundreds of random old dude and women just coming into my comment section and telling me why they hate Angel Reese. Okay, and so at the end of the day, she is the most hated athlete, whether it's because of her, on the play court style, whether it's because of her personality, or maybe it's just the fact that she is a black woman who is successful. But anyway, that's about all I have to say on the topic. I could go into even more detail, but I don't want to make this video longer than it has to be. I feel like I've spoken to the audience that needs to be hearing this, okay? And I hope that Angel Reese thrives in Chicago. Right now, they say that at about the 8th seed, they can really sneak into the playoffs here. Sure, they might get blown out in the first round, but who knows? When you make the playoffs, there is always a chance, especially in a game like the WNBA. But like I said, that's about it. I think I've covered everything I wanted to. Catch y'all later. Much love. Deuces.